Right, and which one is it?
I mean, honestly, I don't think it matters
what type of superhero you are. Right?
You're right.
Like whatever frequency, whatever it is you think it is. That's what you unlock. I don't know. I'm telling you, man. Anyhow.
Hilarious that we have to re-clean the table after we'd already cleaned it, but lost footage, that'll happen. Well, lost audio, that'll...
Let's not dwell on it. Anyway.
I believe the entire conversation started from single...
I was on the way over here, and I was thinking about frequencies and vibration and all that, and how that... It's like the answers to everything, right? Isn't that what we're told by Nikola Tesla, anyway? And led me into, for whatever reason, thinking about frequencies that we can see, the spectrum of light and so on and so forth. And why is it we can only, perceive, this when really there's way more out there that we're not, with our physical bodies, capable to see? Or can we? Or did we? Like, is this something that the human body is supposed to be able to do? Whether it's a sight thing or not, but it was, for some reason, the sight was the thing I was thinking about on the way here. Like, you can see the spectrum of colors, you can see all the objects around you, but are there colors that we can't even perceive? Are there sources of light coming off that plant that you can't see in the normal spectrum?
Like an aura.
A life force, like...
Yeah, I mean, you can call it all sorts of stuff, but yeah, you could literally perceive it.
Like, are there people that had the ability, I'm going to say like way too many times, to see like the magnetic waves coming off of a human body or an animal or even a plant?
You're kind of like the Celestine prophecies where you have that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can actually read it and tell the intentions of it. And
is that what it means to be clairvoyant? Or is that the way, not just it's perceived by people with, I don't know what some might consider, I don't know if you consider even a disability, but being born with synesthesia, is that even a disability, or is that like closer to the true sight? Because you're not seeing things distinctly as such as...
So I brought up with the synesthesia thing, my speculation is that, going to Dr. Dispenza stuff where it's like we have this 98% junk DNA, but he says it's DNA that can be unlocked. Well, I had speculated, what if synesthesia is literally your RAC, the reticulum activation center? What if that's turned off, or a blocker for it is turned on, or however it is, but literally is that filter doesn't filter in the same way? Because I mean, all of our sensors, so all of our, touch, taste, so the olfactories, I mean, everything, they can perceive way more than what our brain does, because our the RAC, the filter.
And they filter a lot of stuff out because it's not necessary for survival of...
Basically, or I mean, really, because they talk about also as your focus. So as you have more focus, all you're doing is reprogramming your RAC, because it literally is just an algorithm that filters out, 90 some odd % of everything and just gives you the focus of just those things.
Well, what if before, like way before we became such, I don't want to say an advanced society, but it's just a society at all, like a people that live with each other, on top of each other and neighboring, in neighborhoods as close as we do now, versus like living tribally in small groups, that maybe there are things that aren't as necessary anymore for survival.
Well,
like,
yeah.
These things might have been very useful when hunting, like picking up on subtle energies and being able to perceive things that the normal person can't. And whether that was initiated or assisted by, local herbs and some such.
Wild tobacco even.
I think in some ways it was probably already intrinsic to the nature of man at that point.
Well, and this begs the question of is, did we have these abilities and we gave them up, or are we supposed to have these abilities and that's why it's structured in our DNA and we just have to activate that structure?
Right, and which one is it? You know,
I mean,
that
honestly, I
that
don't think it
determines
matters.
what type of superhero you are, right?
You're right.
Like whatever frequency, whatever it is you think it is. That's what you unlock. I don't know.
Well, and I think that's what
That's the gift.
Dispenza.
That's the gift that you're given. But
Well,
is
yeah, I
it
mean,
is
yeah,
the
yeah.
truth though that the human body itself or mankind is actually meant to achieve that, and not just one aspect of that, but literally anything they can imagine, any ability, if you will.
Well, yeah, because I think Dispenza was putting it as we should or you can, but basically unlock or activate the DNA structure for self healing, more or less, meaning that you don't get sick and no cancer, no nothing. You're just your perfect health. Your body just regulates at always,
So like Wolverine.
basically.
I mean, that's pretty sweet.
I mean,
What would you do with it though? Like if it gave you a superhuman ability, like do you think you would spend some time being a little mischievous first, or do you think automatically you would feel like it's my duty to be, yeah, I know this is I don't know, whatever kind of question you might call
ethical
this,
question,
but
moral question.
moral question. Yeah, I don't know if ethics necessarily, but I mean, yeah, I suppose.
I mean, is this where you want to be when Jesus comes back?
Is this where you want to, yeah, is this the mark you want to leave on the world? Is this how you want to be remembered? Is this
So,
is this the energy you're vibing with even?
so
Like,
with your question, I think there's two aspects. One is so the human nature for our learning procedures, like how our brains actually ingest, digest, and make purpose of, is to basically do experiments, so trial and error. And you would have to do some good things with it as well as some bad things with it to find that piece in between. But there would also be the perspective that an individual that has already done a lot of self work and has that ability could from the get go just be like, holy crap, I could do X, Y, and Z vigilante style and, be the newest, dopest Batman kind of stuff. Like,
it's like the psychological test question where you're like, if you had a superhuman ability and you got to choose between invisibility and flight, which would you choose? And it's like, if you say invisibility, you're a pervert.
oh, yeah, guaranteed.
You just know.
Yeah.
You're going
So
to be
that
doing
would
some pervy shit.
there'd be only one reason why you would try to hide yourself, because you're gonna do some gnarly shit, most likely pervy shit. And if you want to fly, I mean,
I mean, flight, you're thinking, I mean, not that you couldn't use that to your advantage, but it's just like, it's much more obvious. Like, if you want to be invisible, it's like, why?
well, yeah. What are you trying to hide?
Why? What are you, SEAL Team 6? What?
To me, it's also the same as asking, have you ever seen Winnie the Pooh? You know all the different characters. There's Roo and Eeyore and Piglet, and which one of those characters do you enjoy the
Well,
most?
that one would be Snuffleupagus because nobody
That's
else
Sesame
ever saw him.
Street. It's totally different.
But I'm just saying that would totally be because he didn't exist.
But yeah, but Snuffleupagus is the same as Eeyore,
It's Eeyore? Yeah.
personality trait wise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you as an individual enjoy Eeyore, if you're like, oh, Eeyore is my favorite, that says something about you.
Oh, yeah.
It's a psychological test because, it's the association.
Oh, that's what you're saying about that book,
What book?
Christopher Robin, Winnie the Pooh.
Well, no, I'm just
Like
using that as a
your
reference.
character that you would choose.
It's just personality traits. And that is indicative of you associating with that character the most. That's why you enjoy him the most, because that's most likely you.
Right. It's a common theme.
Yeah,
Right.
each one of them is a different.
Just like Breakfast Club, just like a lot of the
Exactly.
greats, right?
Correct. But yeah, I mean, it really, to me, it goes back to the whole Dispenza thing. Is I really do feel that our bodies are capable of and projected for. We're coming to. I feel as though more and more of the generations after us, there's going to be more and more of that DNA that's turned on. You'll find more cases of synesthesia, which I think is really only just kind of the beginning. And as that progresses, there's more.
Or what has to change for that to progress, right? Like, does humanity have to start making the right choices? And what are the right choices?
No, I,
And
I
like,
think it's just natural evolution. It's a
what it has to actually make the survival of the species as a whole for that particular person.
well,
easier.
that's under the evolution construct.
over
That only the
time.
strongest will survive. That's the mathematical probability. I'm just saying is I feel as though the DNA structure, what it is that we truly have the potential for, because again, our sensory organs,
Oh, that 95% or 80% or
98
whatever
or
it
yeah,
is.
that whatever junk DNA stuff, like it's we have that potential. It's built into us. The natural progression would be to just evolve to that and not because of evolution style, the strongest will survive. I think as a whole, so going back to the whole Dispenza thing where we have, that 98% junk DNA, it's I think us as a species as a whole are really just trending this way, beyond Darwinism, evolution as it was, the only the strongest will survive. It's I think it's just the trend of all of humanity basically becoming enlightened in a sense because we have so much information. A lot of us are easily distracted by that, but then there's also quite a bit of us that are not. And I think that's just a progression within us as humans. So even though that there's only an enlightened few, as it's been coined a lot, those can still infect others and effect them
I like
or
effect.
affect them. Sorry,
Effect, yeah.
not effect. That would be the outcome. But affect them, and that would just be as stone sharpens stone. I always say that it becomes a general trend, so that even regardless of what DNA of strongest will survive, there's still a level of enlightenment that I think is going with our society as a species that is undeniable. It's
Like
inevitable.
a
It's
strong
just
sense of humanity, like for each other, a bond, or
we call it whatever you want, but yeah, it's just the understanding that we can't be the only anything. There is all things, and to have that respect, basically, as we were saying, is to start to actually resonate on frequency, energy, and vibration. To not just be aware of it or think about it, but to actually exist within that construct.
to make it an actual like class that you would teach. Well, I'm sure there are classes out there, but something that would
MK
be.
Ultra.
So, no, man.
Well,
Is
that's a
it still
class.
going on? That's my question.
Oh, of course it is. Redacted.
Like they never cut funding. They're like, yeah, we closed that years ago.
No, they just make their own money
We just
now,
locked the
like the
file up.
DEA, where they just like, you know, you know.
Do they?
Oh, they
Do you
do.
know?
Well, of course
Can
they
you tell
do,
me?
because they're
I have
watching
no
us.
idea.
Then so we would know that they know because
Um,
you're smart enough to watch us,
dude,
watching you
that's
too. Creepy.
yeah.
I know. They're okay with it.
Can you don't look at him with that tone of voice?
But they liked it.
Sorry.
Did you see what they were wearing? No, I can't. But yeah, no,
I don't know,
it's
maybe they were just cotton. I don't know.
something cool I haven't even heard of yet. But yeah, man, like our meat suits, our puppets, our sensory organs ingest so much information. It's just our brains that choose to filter most of that information.
Right, but what if there's a part of your brain that's supposed to light up that doesn't in most people? Like, what if there's a whole section of the brain that's dedicated to exactly the um, stimuli response of all these frequencies that our brain is already subjected to, but since we don't have a method of projecting that onto our five standard senses, there's not like a program code for that sixth sense to fit,
Well,
because it kind of fits across all of them. That's what it seems like. That's what synesthesia would tell me.
and again, I think this goes to
Synesthesia.
our bodies are capable of. The meat suit can ingest and process this data. Our consciousness or our brain in protection mode, realizing that its structure and abilities are limited to only ingesting a set percentage of that information.
Only what's necessary.
I mean, that's what you said earlier. Only what is needed to survive,
Well,
basically.
for 50 generations, which is a long, long time, for 50 generations, if you don't, I'm just saying, it's a short amount of time, but I'm saying in human time, 50 generations,
Oh, you got me.
you're not going to have super rapid changes. But if you think about it, if the human body doesn't require the use of this extra sensory portion of your brain, it doesn't actually help you survive over somebody that doesn't have it or doesn't have it as strongly as you. It doesn't matter. It's a wash. So after so many generations, maybe, like you said, it's just turned off. It's not that it's not there. It's just turned off.
Right. Well, that's why I said there's the two potentials is it's either we had it and it's been turned off, or we're meant for it and it hasn't activated yet. Either way, our meat suits, our bodies have the potential of. And so maybe us as a consciousness, that awareness, our soul, however you want to call it, having that ability to actually work this avatar, this puppet, it can turn certain things on and off. I would assume.
Maybe there's things that we need to do inside our own lives and in ways take care of our body, cleanse ourselves once a month or whatever we need to do, like of toxins by taking some kind of, whether it's a shake or whatever, trying to live a healthy lifestyle and flushing certain things out mentally, physically, spiritually. If it wouldn't help more of us improve this aspect and this lens that we see the world through, right?
Well, I think that's an argument from some of the people about like GMO and shit like that, and the different preservatives and additives and chemicals and blah 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 blah. All the chemicals that we're adding to the basically the grocery store food, all the
I know we have to
prepackaged stuff.
recreate something that already exists naturally.
Well, but that's the argument is, what if that stuff is turning off some of those DNA structures? What if it's,
Could be.
but eating raw foods or of earth foods, so nothing that's been made, like manufactured or overly processed or whatever, if those ones would turn things off, then it's also, I would say, feasible that eating those foods, the raw stuff. And it doesn't mean that it's
Yeah.
uncooked, but well, no. So not that it's like uncooked or anything, but raw as in it hasn't been filtered or gone through some sort of procedure or been
Processed
modified or
or yeah.
exactly. If having that raw food in that sense, then maybe that stuff could actually turn things on because it would be the opposite. So why
I think
not?
they can and they do if you're able to get those kinds of things or if you grow your own food. I think there's an absolute potential for that in increasing an individual's health. Absolutely. Um, a lot of it has to do with mindset too. Being able to keep yourself in a mindset um, that's healthy. Uh, but the eating thing, it's like I don't know. Like, what do you really? What you need to avoid is heavily processed foods. Like, what would you be able to eat and survive perfectly normally if you were back in I don't know, go as far back as like the Stone Age or whatever, but it'd be very basic stuff. If you find an animal and kill it or whatever you can grow in your field, it's whatever you find. There's certain flowers that grow naturally. There's certain herbs and lettuce that naturally, and this is where all of this stuff eventually graduated to in the ability for mankind to learn how to use the resources around us, right?
I would say it does. Because but I think this can go to the whole frequency vibration energy thing. What if those raw foods, those things that haven't had stuff done to it, if that structure is a rawer structure, if it's
More aligned naturally.
what would that do to your body in that sense? And I think it would cause because like you were saying with the idea of being healthier mentally, physically, emotionally, making better life choices. I mean, all of that kind of stuff. You would have that mental and emotional balance that would cause you to want to do certain things that would bring about better preservation and ability of
Absolutely.
your body, which to me would be not only being self-sustaining and self-healing in a sense, but also have additional attributes or abilities that would, well, I mean, ultimately give you an advantage, but it would be because you were getting closer to a truer source where things aren't causing these filters to be turned on further. Just more freedom.
Because you're actually using them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I would assume it to be somewhat exponential because as you were to develop those things and have the
But that was
enlightenment
that was my
or
theory is that we used them so little. So if you go so many generations not actually using that trait at all, does it just kind of atrophy just like anything else?
well, yeah. I mean, but I think both potentials are in existence where, really what you're talking about is the law of averages as far as what would have the greater outcome. And yeah, you would have that generationally, as you said, multiples, but it would just happen because that would just be the statistical probability because you would have to have change. Because I mean, that's the thing I brought up so many times before is this construct, this world, us in the fourth dimension, as we call it, is just really perception. It it's the fact of as you put it before, the hand is this big here, but as it gets closer to my face, it's like, why is that just getting larger? Smack.
Yeah, right. Right.
Oh, that was getting closer. For us to be able to perceive depth or time, it changes our overall perception as well. And that's what I'm saying is with all of these sensory organs really being able to perceive all of this stuff, yeah, we as humans, if we were to just start turning that stuff on left and
Would
right,
it be overload?
it totally would
Yeah.
be. And I mean, I feel as though, you put it as for the ability for survival, but I would also just put it as our brain is smart enough to realize, hey, I only need this to actually function. And that's the program that it's in.
Maybe the problem is we're using the wrong brain. We need to use.
Well, but my point on that would be is if we as the consciousness or soul could modify that programming where the understanding would be is I need to have these additional inputs to have peace and balance. If we were the ones that were, overriding the body's programming of I just need to survive, I want to survive.
To be able to open those other traits back up, you mean?
Correct, because then we as, enlightened entities, that would be for our survival because we would be able to override the body's survival needs because it's like, hey, this is my meat suit. I'm in
Right.
control.
And that was my question to you.
This is what I need to survive.
Would you do that if you got that ability overnight? Would you try your best to use that ability to help others?
Oh, the moral apt to
yeah. Going back to that question, it's like, what would you initially tend towards? Maybe not necessarily where you'd end up, but do you think you would initially tend towards,
right? So
like the human nature of selecting being invisible over being able to fly, kind of thing?
Well, yeah. If you could turn on any superpower inside of you, like what would it be? And then once you have that, what would you do with it? Evil or good?
Right.
Well,
or maybe it's an area of gray. Like maybe, wow, this is fun at first. Like I want to play with it.
Well, and so I would say there's two outcomes from that. One is we as human beings, our natural ability to truly understand something is to do, basically trial and error, where you do multiple runs of, well, let's try it this way and see what happens. Okay, now let's try it this way and see what happens. Well, some of those are going to be, good ways and some of those will be bad ways, but, not so right or wrong, but just maybe morally, ethical or unethical. We would, just to understand the potential of what the power really is, we would have to have that perception. But that goes back to again the whole fourth dimension where we have the difference, we have depth, we have perception because the hand is this big, now it's this big. It's like we can perceive that in that sense. So when you have that construct, you have that potential where it's like, yeah, I want to do this and that, but then you would come into some sort of attunement that this is what I have to do. But I think the second potential is if you already are that enlightened individual, if you already are at that place, then having that whatever ability is that you turned on, you would be personally responsible in holding yourself accountable to use it for the greatest good of all. So I think, you get.
Would that be your tendency?
You asking me personally? My belief.
Would that be humanity in general?
So that's what I was saying. So the general public.
51% of humanity.
To the general public, I would say 60, 70% of them would, there would be some mischievous nature of it. But again,
overall,
only to learn from it and truly understand it and grasp it and get the understanding of what kind of accountability you should have with that power. And then they would do that. There's definitely a high percentage of population that would at least try the mischievousness, but I would assume that the humanity of us, at least my hope would be the humanity of us would see it, find that balance and be like, all right, this is what I need to do with it. So me personally, though, I'd like to believe I'm at a place where I'm enlightened enough that, yes, if I was to gain this holy crap power of some sort, would I only do good with it? Fucking A right.
That would be your first choice.
My belief is, my hope would be.
Whether you mess that up, that's the way I would think about it. Whether you mess that up or not, if that's your initial intent.
Me personally, my hope and belief is that I'm at that place where if I were to have that, my only, not my initial, my only choice would be is do the best good with it as I can. Because I believe I'm in this place where I've been looking for my purpose, my karma, what is my greatest potential of me on this timeline, in this realm. Can I do that? That's always been my goal. And lately my focus and intent has been so heavily based within that, yeah, I believe my only choice would be
to do right by the world and
Yeah.
turn your abilities to good.
That's my belief.
I tend to think at least 51% of the humanity would do that. At least.
You got bigger
I got-
hopes than I do.
I got hopes for that. I'm trying to remember the main point that we were trying to push through here was you said you would do
Yeah, do
you
right
would
and
choose
good.
the right
Yeah,
path
so that's my
to help
belief.
others.
Yeah, so my belief is that I would choose good of all things, not just mankind, but all things.
I was thinking too, and had this thought like many a time before actually, but if it, let's say, just for the sake of argument, in order to be able to get into the mindset, to get on the level with these special abilities, to open yourself up to it, you had to be in, we argue back and forth about what it means, like a higher frequency, but like to be in a state of love and admiration and gratitude for everything, where you're vibrating at a higher frequency. If you were able to physically take that measurement, you're actually vibrating at a higher frequency, and what that does to not only you but the world around you and how it affects everything. Is it naturally a lock to keep the wrong kind of attitude out, do you think? That to find this ability, you have to find that frequency that's loving. And that's the only way you unlock that.
Well, and this goes back to what I had said earlier about getting that power and what you would do with it. Us as humans would naturally test it in alternate scenarios to truly learn and understand it. I believe ultimately they would utilize it in the most appropriate and productive manner. I feel that would be the natural outcome. Because if it is truly a power, then wouldn't its outcome want to be that? So
But does everybody think like that? Or are there a lot of...
I don't know.
That's the thing.
This is how I think. I know
Right.
that.
And maybe that's even a question for myself. It's like, are you actually that, or are you the person that says you are that because you want to be that? But in truth, you make so many decisions throughout the course of your tenure that you justify what you do wrong by saying, but look how much right I do.
Is that like how Bill Cosby did the Huxtables and all the psychology behind it and uplifting an entire race of people? But
that's really dark, actually, to think about.
I'm just saying, you said
I did a lot of good for the world. Can we just forget about what I did over here? Just
saying.
Just kind of, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, if I had like $200.
See how few people,
Ow!
how
You're
few
breaking
people
my
this
arm.
affected, right? See, versus how many people I affected in a good way. Can we just forget? Can I put something in this hand that makes me forget about what's in this hand?
I mean, like, say I had like $200. $200, you're breaking my arm.
I'm robbing you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But is it, and that was my question, is maybe it's locked out for most people because maybe in order to achieve it, like I said, the key is finding that frequency that already puts you in the mode of healing. And maybe that's why it is an uncommon thing. Maybe it's something where you have to find that center in yourself that not only truly believes it, but acts outwardly the same thing that they think inwardly. Not just assuming, well, I'm doing more good than I'm doing bad. Like, no, I'm doing as much good as I can possibly do. Because it's like an addiction. It makes me feel good.
I love how we went from a very deep analytical conversation about frequencies, energy, and vibration. Now we're like in a moral dilemma.
It's everything. Any conversation could start with frequencies, energy, and vibration.
Technically, they do. Gross.
Every interaction.
And so I would say this goes to belief systems my belief is that at humanity's core, we as conscious meat puppets.
It's hard to take you serious.
I mean, I'm attempting to be impeccable.
Yeah.
But we in that construct would have a natural tendency to always find the balance of providing the most good, maybe not reaching the fullest potential of our ability, but at least heading that direction. I want to say my belief is that humanity at its core is ultimately for good and the best good possible. But again, that's my belief. So if your belief is we have that potential, but I mean, you said earlier like 51%, right?
I'm thinking about that. You remember, what is it called? The button? I think it was just called the button.
What are we talking about?
Where you could, this stranger with like a pork pie hat and a nice suit shows up one day with this fancy box, and all it's got is this special lid on it and one button. And if you push the button, somebody, who knows who it is going to die, and you'll receive thus and such, whatever, cash, whatever it was. And it's just like, I was thinking about that. It's like a psychological test. You know, it's like we always like to play those thought experiments, right? It's a psychological test to see what is it you would do. And does that not tell, do you think humanity would always choose the right path? And I have days where I think I'm not so sure.
And that's why, my bigger point in that was, again, your belief, your perception, because of your experiences, your bias.
What does that say? Everything's projection, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, is that more judgment on myself? Is that what I'm saying? That I don't trust society because I myself think, if given that choice, would choose the wrong path?
I mean, I think that now because you said it. That's why it goes to our belief systems. If that's your belief system, then that's going to be your perception. That's what your RAC is going to be programmed to. That's why your brain is only going to allow you to ingest the content that supports that construct. That's why
fights for the side of the argument that says nothing's real, though.
But dude, there's so many arguments for that.
Fights for the side of the argument that says there is no such thing as truth. Like,
Bro,
even facts are subjective.
I've always said a fact is only a reproducible piece of information within a set constraint or a construct or parameters. The same as I've said before is these ingredients will produce a cookie. How you put those pieces together might change the cookie. So but again, that's why I say it's perception. If your belief is, then your perception is going to be. That's what you're programming the RAC for. I know you're out. I'm out. We've been going hard into the paint on this shit.
No, this is a good chat, though. I like this.
I think so. Maybe it's going to be a new Terrence Howard extravaganza where we wind up getting like 3 or 4 straights. We don't need
to ride that anymore. We can.
No, not him. I'm just saying how we wound up doing like 4 episodes of that shit.
This is definitely in the same line with that.
We're going to continue this conversation. It is in the comments.
It's going to be right here.
The cuppage. It's the cuppage.
Yeah, this guy,
Yeah, hit us in the comments what you like, what you don't like, what you enjoyed, what you want more of, what you're thinking. What do you feel on the whole energy, frequency, vibration, any of that?
Anyway.
As well as we appreciate you, and be good to yourself. Be good to everything else.
Much love. Peace. Peace.
Peace. All right, we're going to.
Yeah, all right.
That's a great finish, and we're going to end there. Sorry.
Why would you apologize for that? Sorry?
Sorry. Is that better?
Sorry.
Is that better? I don't know how this works.
That other one. Mr. Pink, Mr. Brown,
Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs. Yeah.
Sorry, Quentin.
Sometimes I have these weird thoughts. Like, did you know there's a guy out there that he used to, I think he worked for one of the big pizza chains. But within the area, the ordering district, I guess, whatever you call it, district of the Pentagon, and created this whole thing called the Pentagon Pizza Index. The number of pizzas sold like to the Pentagon complex. And the theory is that when massive multicultural geopolitical things are going on and in the works, that pizza index goes way up. That's the kind of crap I think about when I'm just driving around by myself without the radio on. So
All right, clap. 1, 2, 3, clap. Maybe comment on the Pentagon pizza thing, or don't. I don't know.
please, because this is new to me and I thought it was freaking wild. To improve our own lives, right? Are we?
On you about focus and clarity or some shit. Which we obviously don't have at this point. That's all right. Blooper. Without the Pentagon pizza.
That was really interesting. I just learned
or-
that recently. I was like, what is this? I've never.
That's great. Maybe we can move past
Tell
that.
me more. I thought it was interesting. Oh,
Oh, and yeah, just slide that. Slide. Well, that you can put down there, please. So what's this?
I'm telling you, man. Ba-da-ba-ba.